Ah, oh, mamma mia! Oh, Lord! Okay, very good. Holy shit! There you go. We did it. Only took 5 minutes.
The things. We did the shared chat. We got cameras on both sides, and I even have what I'm looking at on my screen. So I have like I have like 3 tiles, so that we can like look at what I can show what I'm showing. You know. I think I might also be able to share it to you. No, that's fuck it. It's fine. It doesn't matter.
Okay, I flipped you, so you're gonna look weird to chatters that are often in your chat.
I don't care.
But I need to flip myself so I don't look weird to myself. Okay, this looks semi-ugly, but doable.
Who gives a fuck?
Side. Who gives a fuck? Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, this is everything a communist have ever done throughout history is scuffed as fuck. This is just a reality. It is until we get to regime level where things start to get cleaned up. All right.
Yeah, it's like 90% LARP about theory, and then when you're actually putting it into practice, it's like 100% improvisation. You're like, I guess the state is good now. I don't fucking know.
Exactly. Well, everybody, this is friend of the show, Yugopnik. I've only been on your podcast one time, which is a little bit insulting.
You will repeat that. Oh, this is my first time coming on your show. So,
so okay,
you never paid back. You know, you never paid back. Now you paid back. Now you're gonna.
Now, okay, great. And so, how are you enjoying? If you don't know who Yugopnik is, you have your own channel on YouTube. You've now begun streaming at Yugopnik Twitch, which now that we're shared chat, everybody can hit the follow button.
Thank you.
There.
That would be very kind. Thank you very much, Go.
You are also a co-host of the Program podcast. I highly recommend you give that a listen with your fellow content creators, Second Thought and Hakeem. And I would kind of consider you a little bit to my right, chat. Not quite as left as me. Yeah. A little bit to my right. A little 100%. Bit more. Like
everybody's to the right of you, bro. Everybody's to the right. No, I am to the right of you because, like, being a Twitch streamer, being a streamer is de facto right wing. But I've somehow managed to make it even worse because I've united the 3 dots of the unholiest of unholy, which is Twitch streamer, YouTuber, and God fucking damn it, podcaster. By the way, how do you put them on the hierarchy? Obviously, all 3 of those jobs are the best jobs on the planet. I mean, like, and
which is more left wing than the other?
No, which is like more cringe than the other. Podcaster is the cringest, like objectively. Like if you only do a podcast and don't do anything, it's very cringe.
No, you're right. I think podcast is the most cringe because it's the most pretentious. You know what I mean?
I never got that. Pretentious how?
Like, okay, how is like, I'm making a radio show and here's our ads. Have you ever wanted to sleep better? Have our CBD. And it's like, you know, it's very much in the form of a radio. It's like, Mommy, I made a radio show in my garage. So I think that's more cringe. I think,
but then again, everybody and their fucking mother is a podcaster. I feel like when an average Joe hears podcaster, they're imagining Hawk to a girl, or the fucking guys like buy my course, brother, I will make you very rich, or the crypto dudes, etc., etc. That's even like
that's why it's also more cringe though, because it's like
it is more cringe.
It's like so I'm agreeing with you that that podcasting is the most cringe. As far as YouTube versus Twitch, that's tough. That's tough for me because, like, I feel that streaming is, I think what redeems streaming for me is we're very self-aware of being slop. We're very self-aware of, like, the ethereal nature of our content and how it's like you make it, people watch it immediately, and then it goes bad, right? And then you make a new thing. And so you're constantly, it's like, right, it's in the moment and everybody's self-aware of that. And I think that redeems it a little bit because it reduces how like self-important it is. Like each stream isn't the most important stream. Like, whereas when you make a YouTube video, there's a certain level of like, I'm making this and you're editing and you know, you get pretensions. And I think YouTubers are a little bit more pretentious. And
it's extra hypocritical because even in our space or whatever you want to call it, like entertainment with a little bit of political commentary or political agitation, if you're a bit more self-assured in the stuff that you're actually producing, it's extra hypocritical because like streamers get shit for quote unquote stealing other people's content and watching their shit and like responding to it, but 95%, again, even in our field, of the videos that get made for YouTube that are covering a particular topic have already been done. Like, people just stylize the video a little bit differently, use the exact same arguments as the previous guy, girl, or enemy, and put it out. And, you know, stand on top of it as if they, I don't know, fucking introduced advanced new theory and they're the next, I don't fucking know, Engels. It's that I completely agree is what I'm saying. There is a certain level of pretentious that comes with YouTube content that does not exist in the feeble mind of a Twitch peasant. Yeah.
I mean, gosh, I agree with that completely. And the other thing is, I think YouTube is also, it's the pretension thing. Like, everything is super plagiarized, right? Like, how many people have like huge channels where they just plagiarize Wikipedia articles and then repeat it over like really poorly made stick figure drawings? And these people are like multi-million subscribers, right? But they don't.
That's why the whole like LARPy dead internet theory or whatever, it like hits the nail on the head, but only halfway through, because they're like, oh, this is just like algorithms reproducing shit. It's just like AI printing out shit. No, yes, sure, there's a lot of that stuff. You know, fucking, did you see the minion on the cross? The minion on the cross, the fucking legendary meme. But it's also just like, because again, blah blah blah, not to be the local fucking commie, but profit motive. And now you have a shit ton of people that are not doing it because of passion, because of artistic ingenuity, because they actually care about the topic that they are writing on, that they are depicting, etc., etc. There's hundreds of thousands upon thousands of people that have gotten into the quote unquote content game, even on the side of making essays, making historical content, making analytical content, making political content. 100% only to make some fucking money. Dude, you probably have like massive channels that are like 5, 6, 7, 8 multi-million-dollar channels that are probably owned by a guy that like literally just pays writers and pays editors and goes to fucking Hawaii, like never works ever. Especially because the entry, financial barrier to entry is 0. It's buy a fucking mic and, you know, hope that the algorithm likes you eventually. So that's why it's turning into slop. So what I'm saying is, dead internet theory to an extent is correct, but it doesn't need to be fucking AI. It's just like passionless drones that are making content for the sake of content.
I would say, like, okay, so I was just looking over a very popular YouTuber's channel by the name of Destiny. I don't know if you're familiar with Destiny. He's popular on YouTube. He's kind of what I consider to be the quintessential YouTuber, in the sense that he knows absolutely. I have no idea
who that is, by the way. Absolutely no idea who that is.
Yeah. He has absolutely no idea what he's talking about on any topic. And but he also acts super arrogant while sexually exploiting his audience. So for me, he's kind of like the representative of what a YouTube creator is like, which is completely dumb as fuck, doesn't know anything. Like, we just watched a clip today where he didn't know what common law was, and he was like arguing with an attorney about how America has common law, and which is a very basic kind of 101 American, you know, poli-sci level take. And it's like, okay, first, you know, if you don't know what common law is, that's fine. But you don't then say, I know how to interpret law better than a lawyer. You know what I mean? So,
it's a fucking hot take economy for the sake of the hot take economy. But and it's completely like vibes based, bro. Like, so correct. He has those particular vibes, and people that watch him have the same rapey vibes, let's be fucking honest, and they're gonna listen to everything he says because he's like the apex rapist guy. So they're like, oh, fucking phenomenal, this is the fucking wolf that I need to stand behind in my march towards eternal truth through one Wikipedia article at a time.
Well, this is something that I wanted to ask you. Massive, well, this is what, just to like kind of frame what I'm saying, and this is like the issue that I think is facing politics in this new era of content. Like, live streaming content is actually, and like making YouTube videos is what politics will be for the rest of our lives. Like, number one, like that's unless some more immersive form takes hold. Like, people are going to be making short form content, and they're going to be live streaming. And the reason why I know that is Mexico. Like, AMLO was basically a live streamer. Every day he would go and he would do like a 4-hour live stream, like me, in front of, and he would get hundreds of thousands of people watching. And the thing is, it worked, because even though AMLO is really a weird guy, because he was like going around the media and he was engaging with the Mexican population and talking about the policies that he was doing. Now Claudia does the same thing, Claudia Sheinbaum. Now, listen, I have my critiques of that party, but it's you can't deny that they are the most popular like left-leaning party in the world right now, outside of the Communist Party of China, and like that is based on the fact that they figured out we're in the live streaming era, and just going in front of people and talking them to directly and treating them with respect, right? Like not just giving them grade 5 level takes, but actually showing depth, bringing on experts, talking about the issues, treating the Mexican population like they're smart enough to understand this stuff. And that has resulted in massive like loyalty. And so,
you know how much fucking logistics you need to fill a whole ass Colosseum every single day, 4 times a week. Imagine filling 100 Colosseums 4 times a week for 5 to 6 hours, with more people coming in. The second somebody goes out, new people come in. Impossible, right? Then this little thing called the fucking internet erupts, and we can quite literally do this. And some politicians figured out how to properly utilize it. The game is completely changed, and we will, like, I completely agree with your take, and we will see even like established quote unquote political figures start to utilize
God, I hope
it
they
as well.
do. Yeah. I hope they do.
Oh, but there's a dark side to that potentially, right? If fucking misinformation flows like a river now, you can imagine how it's going to flow when they have access to much more people than they've had access to previously, that they can lie to quite literally directly.
Well, yeah, I mean, like the mainstream media, like it used to be. I think why the mainstream media failed so much is because it was about manufacturing consent for what elite consensus was. So it's like the elites figured out we're going to go to war with China, right? Or we're going to go to war with the Soviet Union. We're going to invade Vietnam. And the mass media was just a way in which the elites' beliefs were inculcated into the masses. And so they were done in a very straightforward, it was more like conclusions being transmitted to the audience. It wasn't a democratic dialogue between like the people and the elites to figure out what is the reasonable policies. It was the elites dictating to.
It's like these institutions, these organizations trying to tell me what to think.
Exactly.
But when there's a guy with a little camera looking me straight in the eyes through the camera, then it's more humanized. Even though like probably half of his takes, if we're talking politicians, also come from said institution, but because it's much more organic, it's much easier to swallow, and therefore much easier to trust. Yeah, no, dude, the streaming can change the whole fucking game.
Yeah, and also like those of us, like you and I, exist because of the social media milieu, right? Like
literally, because
I can have, and you have discussions with our audiences that get into depth, where we can talk about the historical evidence. We treat them like adults, and we talk to them like, well, maybe not in your community, but in my community, we treat them like adults, and we respect their intellect, and we when we talk about the issues like American foreign policy or Medicare for all, we're not talking to you like you're 5. We're talking to you like I expect you to understand being an adult and why these policies are important, and going into the depth, and going into and treating you,
and they
like
understand it, and they get it, and they learn something, and they reply, and they're like, oh, I never saw it from that perspective. That's kind of fucking interesting. And then you slowly see them blossoming. That was the biggest surprise, honestly, because when I before I started doing this whole fucking thing, and I would watch some streamers, not always political, but in general, and I would see them constantly, like, very violently even arguing with chat, which is sometimes necessary because you get hogs in chat, and then you treat them as a pet, and it can even be fun. You milk the content out of it, etc., and then the rest of chat can learn something new from your interaction with whatever, sometimes well-intentioned, sometimes not well-intentioned points that they are throwing your way, right? But I was expecting to get a lot more completely unhinged pieces of shit in chat. And I've been doing this on and off. Now I'm trying to, from the beginning of this year, to fully become a streamer, or whatever you want to call it.
Oh, really? Oh, no.
Yeah. Dude, I will only steal the weekends, bro. Yo, Mike,
Weekend's a good time.
Normal human being does not stream on weekends. And when you feel that, the fucking, that lack of heroin, that Mike heroin over the weekends, there's an unhinged, masked fucking
I
Balkan
mean,
guy.
listen. Like I respect the achievements of organized labor, and I don't want to be somebody who undercuts that by streaming on the weekend. You know what I mean, chat? Like
motherfucker.
I would be doing Race to the Bottom. And so even though it would be good for me to stream on the weekend, I'm sacrificing for you guys and for the cause, because I don't want you to have to be forced to stream on the week or work on the weekends. So
yes,
consider
but I'm crossing
me
the picket
as the
line.
ultimate
Yeah.
person in solidarity. You know what I mean? Like I show my solidarity with the worker and anybody. No, I'm fucking.
Just the thing that I wanted to say earlier, I was surprised how smart chat is, how well intentioned like 99% of these people are, how much they want to learn when it's learning time, how much they just want to hang out when it's hangout time, how much also we can fucking learn from these fuckers. Like, when I started, I was constantly screaming at them, literally committing Twitch suicide. Stop watching me, go touch some fucking grass. Turns out most of them also do. They just, also listen to me while they work out, while they study, etc., etc. All of them have, to an extent, very well established, decent fucking lives. They just, they don't believe that the peak of humanity is this fucking mega mall we call capitalism. So they come and they create communities and they interact with us as well, and it becomes something really. Basically, TLDR, I thought that it's going to be far more toxic than it is.
Well, the
genuinely is.
The thing about streaming is that the community reflects the creator. So if you
that's why they're all horny all the time, motherfucker.
Exactly, your audience is very horny because you're horny, right?
And yours is what? Very smart, very erudite, and
yeah. I have an emote just for people like you called DSA Bonk. Yeah. Whenever anybody is acting like a Yugopnik in my chat, they get clubbed, and that's how we keep them in line. But I will say this, so that's what I love about streaming. The other thing that's very funny is like conservatives are actually scared. The most important emotion for the conservative movement is fear. And so when you have an open chat and you're like, come bring me your conservative, arguments and let's have a conversation with it, that's the thing they're the most scared of, because they know deep down that what they believe cannot really firmly be supported by the evidence. And so having an open chat, having the ability for people to come in here and try to like make points, kind of demonstrates to your audience and the new people in your community just how vapid they are and how little foundation they have for their beliefs. Whether it's stuff like racism or defense of neoliberal capitalism or whatever. What you actually find is the people that are coming into your chat to defend these things, they usually just act up. They usually just like throw out an insult or something, right? Or they act like a child, a troll. And that's like pretty much the peak of conservative thought at this point on the internet. Like you're not like Asmon's Gold chat is not out here, offering us treatises on neoliberal development theory. You know what I mean? These are just guys going like, we got the better culture.
Yeah. And even like, let's imagine they exist, and sometimes they do exist. The 5% of rightoids that are not like just vapid, hateful, fearful.
You mean the capitalist class?
Economic cuckolds or whatever. They usually, the type of fucking conservatives that are the way they are because they've never really even interacted with a relatively progressive person ever. And they have this image of this fucking unhinged communist that wants to come and take away their guns or whatever shit. Streams really allow for them to potentially come in, and then you interact with them and you give them a very different image of what quote unquote leftist is, and then it starts clicking. They're also like just fucking chill. They have maybe a worldview that's a bit different than mine. They look chill, so maybe I want to learn more about this worldview because maybe I'm missing something because they look like fucking normal, and light bulbs start going off to an extent, and you can contribute to a relative sense of de-radicalization or whatever the fuck that means, but you know what I mean, and that feels good too, is what I'm saying.
Oh no, definitely. It's funny because I sometimes people will try to attack me, liberals, because I come from a very conservative family background, at least on my parents and family has been radicalized to the left by me. So people will come to me and be like, "Oh, you used to be a conservative in 2003 or whatever." I'd be like, "Yeah, I was raised, in a military background and in a very conservative family background, and through my conversations I've had with family and their life experiences of like getting into organized labor and things, I have helped push them towards a left-wing radicalization, or left-wing politics that they didn't previously have. I'm proud of that success.
You've grown. Mike, fuck you. You've grown as a person, and that is fucking disgusting. You should only hold the opinions that you've held when you were 17 for the rest of your life. And, your life has peaked ideologically when you're complaining about black people in video games. And you should continue like
I never did that
for the rest of your life, and then want to shoot communists because you can't have a girlfriend. That is how you're supposed to live. Not actually learn,
I think one of the things that's really interesting, and this is what I want to, what would you like to talk? Like, what do you think about like the space? When you did a video on like the funnel, which I think is one of the most important videos to kind of understand political discussions, because I want to talk about tumors for a second, and get your thoughts on tumors, which is like, there are people that use the appearance of politics or talking about politics or interacting with politics as clickbait, as a way to get people into their community. And that's their only goal. And I think a lot of us who are more oriented toward politics as a real project to try to accomplish something in the real world, we can oftentimes get confused or subsumed into interacting with these people because they are making political sounding arguments. I'll give you an example of someone that I'm talking about, Ethan Klein. Right?
Yeah.
Ethan Klein is injecting himself into like the political debate on Israel-Palestine. And it's like, this guy doesn't actually care about politics or
he
even
makes
really
content you watch while you're taking a shit. And
exactly.
He wants to have hot takes on apartheid. Yeah.
Yeah, like, and he doesn't have like in the way he approaches politics is to use it in interpersonal squabbles, right? Yeah. He's mad that, Hassan told him, you can't be a left-winger and support genocide. You can't be a left-winger and support the apartheid. And if you have that take, left-wing people are not going to like you. And so, Hassan communicated that to him very clearly and fairly, and honestly with kid gloves, right? Gently. And Ethan Klein thought, no, it's you poisoning your audience against me, as opposed to Hassan just saying, my audience is a political audience with beliefs and a perspective, and you can't do the thing that you're going to do. And he ended up, he went down and when they broke apart, Hassan did the ultimate move in revenge, which is he lived well and he succeeded in life.
Yeah. Do nothing, win.
Yeah. Like, just go and say, okay, bye. And, Hassan's viewership went up and his viewership went down. And since that point, he's been fixated on him, and he's becoming fascist radicalized because of the interpersonal thing. Right.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And like, he's using these, and sorry for getting off on a monologue here, but
no, go on.
This is my understanding of people like him or Destiny, or is they're not really political. They're using politics. And when you approach them with like political arguments or with an attempt to understand their worldview, there's nothing there. It's just taking advantage of the clickbait of politics, of trying to be part of something that, quite frankly, they don't know anything about, they can't articulate, and they will never like successfully persuade anybody. And so you should just treat them like you would treat any other worthless troll. Make fun of them, laugh at their failure, and watch them fail.
I agree completely, or sometimes to an extent even ignore. Listen, like the whole funnel thing that I did, I was surprised that nobody had made it previously, because basically now we have social media, and obviously it's going to be utilized to a certain extent to push particular worldviews further. The right has fucking managed to utilize social media for the last fucking decade and a half, much better than we can ever imagine doing. Unfortunately, even though we're trying to correct this course, some of us literally by doing this full time as a fucking job to an extent. But yeah, I was like, there's these. Let's call it agents that are thrown all over, and some of them do it more as an entertaining content, more as educational content. They're all on different levels of how open they are when it comes to preaching socialist politics, etc., etc. And the same way that back in the day, people would give out leaflets, people would post posters on the walls, people would do like small gatherings in taverns, etc.
Sell the zines.
Yeah, so absolutely to introduce people to particular ideas. Now, as we're online, people are also doing it here, and I was like, okay, does this in any way equate to any sort of pragmatic contribution to the wider cause, if we want to call it that? And I genuinely do believe that there are a lot of people who do contribute to said cause by pushing people down. I'm an ex-marketing guy. Yeah, shoot me. I apologize. Through the so-called
that makes sense.
Funnel of education, right? But what do we think?
Wait, 1 sec. But keep going.
Go. Okay. But at one point, chat, I was like, okay, but where in that funnel do we define people that not only want you to move further down, but do their best to keep you on their particular point in the funnel? I asked two questions. Why would they want to keep you in their particular level of the so-called radicalization funnel? By radicalization, I just mean like knowing more about what's fucked up in the current system and learning more about how you can potentially change it, right? Why would they not want you to learn further and maybe even grow out of the level of coverage that they're introducing? Why? Because of the good old fucking profit motive. That's why. Because you staying in their communities forever means they keep making more money. So if I introduce you to, classic sotsdem arguments, that's absolutely fine. That's great. That's fucking, pragmatic, progressive thinking. But then if you also come into chat or the comment section or you interact with me and you say, yo, thank you for introducing me to this sort of thought, but now I'm learning more about this or that theoretician, or I'm joining organizations that are like, let's say, a bit more radical, again, to use that term, even though it's got a relative negative context for some people, than the classic progressive Dems, right? Why do they then react by calling you, fucking unhinged, somebody who is like a quasi-fascist, etc., etc.? Because they don't want you to leave, because they don't want you to outgrow their particular coverage, because they want to keep making money. And that's why I term them as quote-unquote tumors, which to an extent is not correct, because they're not even a part of the funnel. Some of these people have accidentally, and others have intentionally, kind of like Ethan Klein is an example of intentionally trying to enter the larger space of progressive, left-leaning, or very left-wing politics, etc., and cut out their little segments so that they can milk them for money, which was born out of this very intense disagreement about, I don't know, not wanting to openly say that mass murdering kids is a bad thing, right? So those guys, full-on shills, completely do it. Others come in with relatively good intention. They want to educate. They want to talk about these particular topics, etc., but they see the fucking dollar signs rolling, and they understand that if you learn more, you are either going to leave their community, or more importantly, that there's also a shit ton of money to be made by basically doing crazy levels of fucking infighting. So instead of calling out fucking chuds, etc., you start punching down and you start punching up in the funnel. So here I'm not just criticizing, because it goes both ways. I'm not just criticizing the baby leftist creators that are constantly like, oh, these fucking guys are crazy talking about fucking LARPing revolutions or whatever up there, the pieces of shit, which is more common. I'm also talking about the guys up there fucking shooting down and not understanding that somebody also needs to introduce people to this wider worldview, right? To this way of thinking, to this science, to this whatever the fuck you want to call it, right? So basically, the main thesis of the fucking funnel that I made is that's how it also works when it comes to pitching a more expensive product in marketing. Is you develop your own funnel, you introduce them to more advanced, let's call it, knowledge about said ideology in our case, and you don't punch up or punch down. And in the video I use, for example, Hassan is a very decent example. Motherfucker doesn't put anybody in his mouth that does quote unquote more radical content further up the funnel. He doesn't shit talk baby leftists either. Take your funnel, work your funnel, educate people. Don't fuck with those that make more approachable, like easier to approach content below you. Don't fuck with the guys above you. And that is how a proper
it's just called solidarity, right? And,
yeah,
and working toward,
and that's what makes it agitation.
Right.
Because eventually it leads people to organizing, to doing things IRL, right? When there's no pragmatic result from this, then it's not agitation, then it's fucking content, then we're just fucking entertaining, exclusively entertaining. Again, nothing wrong with that, but if you actually want to quote unquote contribute, you add a little bit of that.
Do you know what's very funny, right? You want to hear
yes,
you want to hear a story? So I was talking to some of the leaders of various socialist movements in America, and they said to me, like, I said, oh, I'm Mike from PA, and they're like, wait, you're Mike from PA? That was an inside joke. Because so many people, when we would ask them, where are you from? Like, what brought you to join the movement? They would say Mike from PA. We thought it was like, just like it was a guy, like it was a mythical thing, like Kilroy or something. Like, you're real? Because we have pushed so many people. Like, I am literally one, and I don't say this to pat myself on the back, but I say this as like, this is why this stuff's important, why you're important, why Hassan's important. I'm one of the top recruiters for the socialist movement, which is very funny because I'm not that big, but I focus intensely on getting people active.
Modesty is a fucking poison. No,
yeah. I mean, I'm modest to an extent. I try not to be egomaniacal. And speaking of, I was just in the Communist Party headquarters in Austria, and I grabbed off of them a zine because it looked really interesting to me. And this is what we used to do, chat. This used to be it. Like, you would make little magazines. This is China's Turbo Socialismus. 75 Jahre Volksrepublik. Wow. And this is what we used to do. So now we have the opportunity to create this content and reach people where they are and create this socialist movement. And it's so much more effective as far as time from the agitator's point of view for getting in contact with more people. And
there's only one way for you not to do it right. It's by being a tumor. That's why it's important to mention.
Well, and like, yeah. And the other thing is, like, there's certain things that people sometimes talk about purity testing as an idea, and like, it's bad to purity test, right? And I agree with that in a certain sense, except there are certain things that are like, you are a liberal or you're a leftist, and that distinction does matter. We can't just become gruel and indistinct and have no program and just desperate to get as many people into our side as possible. We have to have a certain level of give and take. There has to be a certain level of political education, political alignment, political content. And when people use the term purity testing, that is a thought terminating cliche, or they can't debate on the merits, right? They're saying you're purity testing because I'm saying, for example, being pro NATO makes you not part of our movement, right? And for the status quo in America or in Europe, being pro NATO is what the establishment is. And NATO is set up as a defense project to kill the left worldwide. So if you're a pro NATO leftist, it's like being a pro slaughterhouse cow. Like, you're just not understanding the way that system is set up. So anything that is undermining and disrupting NATO is positive for us. And if you don't understand that, then you're probably not, you know, a left-winger in a real substantial way, and you're still just a liberal. And you can't divide, quote, foreign policy from, quote, domestic policy. They go hand in hand. And these are like very basic things that we need to get over before you can really be a politically active left-winger. Because if you're going out there and being like, yeah, America shouldn't, you know, support the genocide in Gaza, and yeah, America shouldn't, you know, fight a war against China in Taiwan, and yeah, America should be, you know, pouring troops into Ukraine, that's insane. You are doing an insane thing that is in opposition to your own survival. Because,
I mean,
go ahead. If you disagree with what I'm saying, please.
I agree completely. I agree completely. That's to an extent why we call it a funnel. There is a certain entry point, and the entry point is the very basics of what defines a, you know, to sound like a fucking nerd, the electrical materialist view. The entry point is defined by not holding particular viewpoints or agitating for particular viewpoints that are completely 1000% antithetical to even the most basic propositions that you know, socialist thinking is supposed to represent. So yeah, there's when I talk about infighting in the funnel, I'm talking about infighting in the funnel, not not
our political enemies and opponents.
Saying that somebody's not in the funnel at all. What?
Like, and we should be, you know, like, you know, I'm comfortable declaring some people to be enemies. This is another thing that I think maybe separates me from a lot of other content creators. Like, if somebody is in favor of propositions that will result in my death, right? They're not a person that is a persuadable target. They are an enemy to be overcome. You know, I'm not trying to be like, you know, so extreme with my rhetoric. Just I'm talking about being practical, right?
Of course.
An example of that is like, you know, when people ask me like, why is NATO bad, right? Well, NATO was doing assassinations and coups in Italy called the Gladio. It's the Operation Gladio or whatever. They supported fascists in Greece. They have, you know, they did a coup in Australia. You know, this is not just like, quote, third world countries, which we have all heard a million times. You know, we had a left-wing Swedish prime minister who was assassinated, and they never figured out who did it. Well, like, you know, he was a Swedish prime minister who was opposed to the U.S. war in Vietnam and was giving aid and assistance to North Vietnam against South Vietnam, right, and against the United States. And he was just assassinated one day. You know, another Australian prime minister just drowned. You know, he just went out for a swim and drowned. Like, these are kind of, and this is, and then as far as if you're talking about regular leftists, we supported genocides of leftists in Indonesia. They supported genocides of leftists in Taiwan. They supported genocides of leftists in South Korea. They supported, you know, mass disappearances in Argentina, in Brazil, in Chile. The CIA basically controlled Japanese politics for a long time when it was a single party state. They assassinated the leader of the Japanese Socialist Party after World War II. Like, all this stuff, like, this is not just foreign countries. This is our countries, our nations, our lives. So if you're a pro NATO leftist, you are supporting the people that are trying to kill you, literally. And you are not understanding that, you know, the threat of Chinese invasion of Taiwan is not a real threat to you, whereas these organizations like that are run by Trump or whatever are a threat to you. And you need to, like, adjust yourself to a reality of, if you do really have an anti-capitalist politic, you need to focus on developing international solidarity. Is there anything I said that you disagree with?
Zero. No.
And so that's kind of,
and I have nothing to add. Like, I unironically have nothing to add. Yeah, it's certain points one cannot get over and shouldn't ever.
Yeah, and it's like, you know, it shouldn't surprise you that the same people that supported the war in Iraq are the biggest boosters of the kind of foreign policy that we're seeing today, and why it's so important that we, as a movement, kind of like Don't allow this kind of like stuff to be siloed off as if it's different from what's happening to us. And people, and the American people are a peace-loving people. They don't want these wars, right? They don't want to have a war with Iran. They don't want to support the genocide in Gaza. They don't want a war with in Iraq. That's just not the case. And we have these systems that are being imposed upon us from an elite international capitalist class. And we need to be underlining that every single day. And we shouldn't allow, like, you know, Kamala Harris, when she went up there and said, I want to have the most lethal military, I said, I'm out. That we can't vote for that. Yeah. You know, you can't support that. Like, what are you talking about? Like, she's doing a genocide and she comes up there and says, and she refuses to let a Palestinian American speak. That's Palestinian American. But because she's Palestinian, she's not allowed to speak. That is a racial domination in our own country. It's not just foreign policy. It is, oh, you're Palestinian, you don't have rights.
And then somebody comes to you and tells you that you're actually fighting the progressive cause by very adequately criticizing somebody who's passing the reddest of fucking red lines, which is, hey, maybe you should not firmly, not even like casual, but firmly stand in support of an act of genocide. Like it's a fucking non-argument, quite literally. What kind of conversation are you supposed to have with somebody that is willing to get over to like ignore the mass suffering of hundreds of thousands of people in order to push what? Another 4 years of basically the same fucking shit. That's why they're, again, to go back, that's why they've never even been a part of the funnel, or if they represent themselves as part of the funnel, they are directly arguing against somebody moving further down, because they are actively trying to encourage you to think less as a socialist and more as a, let's say, placated fucking status quo
campus
lover.
lib.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, well, that makes me that brings me to a question that I'm curious about what your take is. How is Europe absorbing the Trump presidency? Is it creating an opportunity for like left-wing politics, or is it, you know, the final capitulation of centrism to fascism, or is it a mixed bag?
Dude, I think it's creating potential, because the status quo in the European Union for the last fucking 80 years pretty much has been seeing their link, pretty much their sorry for the sexual terminology again, but basically the America's eternal cuck, to sound like a fucking edgy Zoomer and to sound like a edgy fucking communist.
It's not even edgy. Like, I mean, it's just soft, it's factual. Yeah. They're in the chair. It's you know, and we're having it with their wife, you know,
and like a soft imperial colony of the United States as well. Like European Union bureaucratics, or even like people in what one could define as power. I don't think they even had the capacity up until recently to differentiate between the interests of European states and the interests of the United States. Even bringing this up as a point made you look fucking insane, because America is Europe and Europe is America.
Right. And the Atlantic unity. Yeah.
Yeah. I wonder if there's like an organization that really contributes to that as well.
Yeah,
I don't know what it's called exactly. I don't know. I'm not that learned of a man.
It's the part of the ocean you don't want to swim in ever.
Yeah. And it was exactly, and it was such a one-way alliance. By alliance, I don't mean alliance like, you know, like a fucking master and a dog.
It was a protectorate.
Yeah, pretty much, to an extent. But I could counter argue this. Like, was it really a protectorate, or or did European states constantly go against their own interests by continuing to be?
Look what's happened since. Let's look what happened since the European financial crisis. European economies have not grown for 15 years.
Oh, dude, it's.
I mean, like, and they're still doing the same policies. It's like 15 years of austerity. You haven't grown.
It's like because
like,
I
how is
study
that even under
political-
capitalism? You guys are just failing and you're not reacting.
It's insane.
Crazy.
And like even like these apparatchiks that I'm talking about are to an extent fucking noticing this because of my particular education, whatever university that I went to, doesn't matter. I have a shit ton of friends that right now like literally work for the EU. Some have already grown to like positions of quote unquote power, etc., etc. And they very openly say, I know it's a fucking meme, but it's a meme inside of the core of European Union politics, at least, in Brussels. The meme of the Americans are making they're making AI and nukes, and the Chinese are making AI processing and 450-kilometer-an-hour trains. And we are debating for months on end on whether we should keep the fucking plastic cups on top of bottles, easy to take off or not.
The plastic tops.
Right?
Yeah.
They have been relegated to the
caps.
dustbin of history by the United States, specifically to just do their own little thing over there, create future soldiers to potentially die on fronts, and not ask any fucking questions. Of course, I'm not running defense here for the European Union.
Okay, I'm gonna say something spicy.
The fuck. Just say.
Basically, you are kind of exterminating yourselves because, like,
they are. Yeah.
Because, like, sometimes alt-right people will talk about like reproductive rates and like, oh, we're not having babies and that's bad. And a lot of liberals and center left liberals are kind of like, yeah, I can't believe you're such a racist. You're caring about the population reproducing itself. And it's like, no, that's actually a totally legitimate point. And people are not choosing not to have children. People are economically prevented from having children. Like, they just cannot afford it, or they don't, or their lives are not stable enough, or they're not happy enough, or they're not able to find a partner. These are all very legitimate complaints. It is a legitimate complaint that you can't afford to have a kid. It's a legitimate point that you can't find a partner. That is, and we know that there's been changes in society that have created these conditions, and it's totally legitimate to talk about them. Now, the right-wing strategies are all insane, and they're all racist and bullshit.
But even on a state level, for example, in the European Union, openly stating that it's very bad for foreign powers to impede on our sovereignty, both through financial and political manipulation, blah, blah, blah. Usually, Russian Federation is bad. And okay, let's all agree. Great, bad. But the United States doing the absolute same thing for the last fucking 8 decades, even to an extent, because they literally can afford to do worse, in the European Union is simply shrugged under the table because there are allies. Why? Simply because they are. So what I'm trying to get across here basically is this interconnectedness between the bull and the cuck has been so eternal that sex quite literally has become only cuckoldry. Like classic fucking missionary fucking has been completely forgotten in the European Union. The only thing we know how to do in Europe is wait for Daddy America to tell us who to fight next, or how to sabotage our own
jerking off into your own shit. I mean, like, that's literally
all the time.
Yeah, like,
and
it
was impossible. Sorry, it was unimaginable for anybody to imagine see a world in which this cuck who has naturalized, let's say, cucking as a sexual act to themselves, to realize, holy shit, this is actually not normal classic sex. What the fuck? Like, it was completely unimaginable for the European Union, especially the fucking people high up in all of these European states, to even think, let alone say out loud, yo, bro, maybe our relationship to the States isn't as both ways as we thought it was. Like, completely unimaginable. And here comes the motherfucking new U.S. administration that doesn't just want to do fucking cuckoldry. It wants to fuck your wife and make you pay for it, right?
Right, exactly.
Horrible allegory, a little bit misogynistic. I apologize to chat, but you get my fucking point, right?
The thing that I would say is,
and then now they're realizing. Well,
they though?
And that can be utilized
because it's like the realization. Okay, so I did before I was like an internet commentator in my legal career. I was going towards securities arbitration, which in America we have this thing called FINRA, which is a regulatory body that you could sue your broker for like basically scamming you. Let's just put it that way. Like if you have an investment advisor or broker and they put you in like, you know, a bunch of scam investments. You have you have a place where you can go.
That must be nice.
Yeah, you can take an arbitrator. You go to an arbitrator, you know, and try to get like money from them, right? And so I was like doing plaintiff side work on that, which is like helping little old ladies get their retirement back, you know, or whatever. This is before my full leftist turn. And one of the things that's like really interesting about that entire world is that we just have a system of complete and utter worthless, parasitic, like that's the outcome. The outcome is just extraction and there isn't anything that isn't a scam. It's a scam economy from the top to bottom. And this is exactly how the United States operates with Europe. Is you're just being extracted from, exploited, and held in a position of like self-annihilation. And one of the ways
that is such a strong, I will have to cut you. That is such a strong rhetorical argument, right? It's so fucking strong, but you couldn't use it literally up until 3 weeks ago.
Well, let me give you an example.
Because they didn't say it out loud.
I'm going to say something that's going to piss off the chat because I like to do this. Like I'll get like an example of the kind of memes and mind viruses that have been inculcated into leftists is the idea of like, I want to have a kid, but I'm not going to because the planet is going to die. And like, that is a perfect example of what I'm talking about, which is like, absolutely no. First of all, you're accepting defeat with that entire premise. You've accepted that we're going to be defeated. Even if you calculate that we're probably going to lose. The fact that you've now decided to not do something that you yearn for and you want to do and is natural, which is like having your own kid because of this idea, it is you are accepting your own powerlessness. You are accepting defeat. You are accepting the premises that human beings are actually valueless, right? Like, I don't want to have a kid because my kid is going to cause more damage. That is a anti-human belief and an anti-left-wing belief. It's this kind of neoliberal greenism that has been pushed into our brains, and it is a liberal idea that hates humanity, and socialism is not misanthropic. Socialism is not pessimistic.
It's the craziest fucking concession that you can give to this very same system that you hate so much. Like,
exactly.
You're like, okay,
I
like capitalism
so
causes X, Y, Z, etc., etc. I can live with this, live with that, blah, blah, blah. We all make some sort of fucking concession because it's impossible. But you two do the ultimate fucking concession of, if you want to have kids, of course. I am actively not going to do it because of how fucked up the system is the pinnacle.
Well, you should have a kid, raise
flag,
a fucking revolutionary. Like, what are you doing? You know, like, no, if you think the system is so fucked and it needs to be overturned, that is a ultimate statement of love for humanity, because you see what's going on around you, seeing what's going on around you, and you want to overturn it. That is what I want to fight for. And if you don't want kids, I'm not here to shame you. I'm not saying that not wanting kids is bad or anything. If you don't want to have kids, don't fucking have kids. In fact, don't have kids because you'd be a terrible parent. But if you want kids, don't allow some fucking mind virus bullshit saying like, oh, the planet's going to be cooked, stop you from doing it. And if you're a person who's saying, Mike, I want kids, but economically I can't have them, that should piss you off.
Yeah.
That should radicalize you so much more, because you're being denied your basic animalistic right to reproduce. Like, you are being denied what thousands of generations before you were able to do in our system. That is anti-human in its essence, and that's what capitalism is. Capitalism is anti-human in its essence. It's about this dead labor capital being improved upon, not the human beings that actually experience life, but rather the idea of some financial fiction, some line going up, some sort of hyper rich person going from 330 billion to 360 billion, which will make no difference in their life whatsoever. They will get no extra utility. They will get no more. Nothing will change about any of their lived experience. But what will happen is millions of other people will be worse off, and they will suffer. If you support that system, you are anti-human.
To me, it's insane that like a lot of people, for example, will have quote unquote enough class consciousness to understand that it's absolutely insane to pass down on the consumer the sins of the system, and they will literally be able to comprehend the idea that it's fucking crazy that you have to drink from paper straws while these guys fucking fly all over the globe every day in their fucking jets.
We
And
are not
then
poor.
also turn around and say, I'm gonna understand that it's lived up bullshit to believe that the world is gonna be saved by paper straws, but the one thing that I will, even though it's not a consumer, but you get my point. The one thing that will basically listen to capitalist dogma on is not having kids. Like you're adequately pointing out that paper straws are fucking an
Right.
insane capitalist propaganda, but you don't want to do it when it comes to having children. It's what the fuck?
Well, and
It's
I
weak as shit, bro.
well, like, it is this is where, like, sometimes people think that stuff I'm saying here is like rhyming with conservative arguments, but it's not. It's the complete opposite, and
What kind of
people get confused
How?
because
It's not.
because it is conservative, dogma to be like, oh, we need, you get Elon Musk saying you need to reproduce, blah 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 blah, but he doesn't actually want you to reproduce, right? Like, he doesn't care about any of that. I want you to be able to live the life that gives you the maximum happiness and the maximum self-expression, and that includes the right to have a kid if you want to have a kid, and we should be pro-natalist in the sense, not like the weird, creepy, freaking libertarian right-wingers who are eugenicists, but in the sense of, like, that is
and
a
they want to
basic,
fuck their own kids as well. Yeah,
yeah, that's a basic human right. And if you don't have that as a system where, like, everybody who has every child gets the best possible, support so that they can maximize their potential, then you're living in an anti-human society. And we live in an anti-human society, and all of us should say that. All of us should say that. And that should be our focus, on building something that isn't anti-human, and
like this anti-human system wants to take every single inch of your existence away from you, commodify it, and turn it into just another thing that you interact with as a mode of commercial exchange. And if you understand this, and yet you capitulate on potentially, of course, if you want to, of course, on potentially experiencing one of the world's greatest fucking joys of having a child. I don't have one yet. I hope to have one day. You are counter arguing yourself, right? You're not only missing the point, but you are to an extent agreeing with the very same fucking blurred out shit post propaganda that they're throwing at you in the first place. It's like, I understand, like, I don't understand, but it's easier for me to understand other types of capitulation. But on the topic of procreation, it's like you're basically capitulating on one of the most human fucking aspects of life that has ironically not been denied to us up until late stage 21st century capitalism. Imagine even the most degenerate fucking feudal or slave societies bringing forward such an argument. They wouldn't. And yet capitalism's power lies exactly to an extent in this, amongst other things, of course. It's to take problems that it creates and put it on our shoulders and feel like we as individuals can slow down society's general degradation based on how we as individuals act.
This reminds me of, like, one of my favorite parts of the Communist Manifesto.
It's cringe to buy, like, fucking vegan leather or whatever, you do your fucking thing, but it's it's a billion times less fucking cringe than being like, I'm not gonna have kids because capitalism, bro.
No, that's yeah. I mean, what I'm trying to say, like, this brings me to, like, my most favorite part of the Communist Manifesto, which kind of explains what I'm talking about, which is, I've heard it described as, like, the acid of, he says, all that is solid. The bourgeoisie cannot exist without constantly revolutionizing their instruments of production and thereby the relations of production, and with them the whole relations of society. Conservation of the old modes of production in unaltered form was, to the contrary, the first condition of existence for all earlier industrial classes. Constant revolutionizing of production, uninterrupted disturbance of all social conditions, everlasting uncertainty and agitation distinguish the bourgeois epoch from all earlier ones. The fixed, fast frozen relations with their train of ancient and venerable prejudices and opinions are swept away. The all new formed ones become antiquated before they can ossify. All that is solid melts into air. All that is holy is profaned. And man is at last compelled to face with sober senses his real conditions of life and the relations with his kind. The need of a constantly expanding market for its products chases the bourgeoisie over the entire surface of the globe. It must nestle everywhere, settle everywhere, establish connections everywhere. And this is you know, beautiful. All that is solid. I mean, this is 1848, chat, and it perfectly explains what is going on now. And like, if you go for a little earlier, he talks about how the bourgeoisie have stripped of its halo every occupation hitherto honored and looked upon with reverent awe.
Oh, one of my favorite quotes. Yeah, sorry.
It has converted the physician, the lawyer, the priest, the poet, the man of science into paid wage laborers.
Yeah. Yeah.
The bourgeoisie has torn away from the family its sentimental veil and reduced the family relation to a mere money relation. That's what we're talking about. That's what we're talking about, is that everything that we used to believe, everything that we used to value is being destroyed. And don't let these that is anti-human in its very fundamental essence, because we are creatures of the earth. And capitalism, you know, you're in the way. You're in the way of the algorithm of profit. And we have to stop them before they kill us all. And that's what capitalism's logic is. Capitalism's logic is extermination of the human race, or we have to get past it. And that's it.
Absolutely.
It is an algorithm that has gone rogue. People talk about rogue AI. We already have it. It's called capitalism.
Yeah, the fucking market, baby. What the you don't need a fucking supercomputer like pre-planning shit for the next 700 years and moving us around as you know, digits on the server board. It's already happening. It's called the fucking economy. It's called the fucking free market, and it needs to eternally grow. And in its attempt to grow from 0 to 1 million, and then from 1 million to 1 billion, has unironically not only commodified even the very laborers, but even to an extent those who profit most out of it. Because there is only one entity that is above even the wealthiest billionaire or most powerful politician, and that is the system itself. We fear some sort of you know, we watch sci-fi movies and we fear, you know, this mega computer that was created by humans, but eventually gets out of human control and ends up being the main power that drives all of society. And yet we live in that very same premise. It's just not as bombastic. It's just called the market.
One of my chatters figured out what I was getting at, because today is actually the anniversary of the first publication of the Communist Manifesto. And
really, what the fuck? I didn't know that. Sick shit, bro.
And I want to read you another section real quick, chat, just so you understand.
Dude, just before you go ahead. Sorry, but in 100 years, they're not gonna talk about the anniversary of the publication of the Communist Manifesto. You know why? They'll refer to Hugo and Mike streaming together for the first time. That's
there you go. There you have it. That's
all of future attempts at revolution will flourish from this particular interaction. Don't you know this? The world actually revolves around us. And you, chat, they will ask you, where were you?
And you'll be like, I got a tier 3 sub that day.
2025. And you will say, I was there posting bonk emojis.
That's right.
Bonk emojis in chat. Let's go.
And this is what I'm talking about. The reason why I brought up this topic, because it's a passion of mine, but it's something that this is what socialists were saying in 1848. Think about today. The bourgeoisie, wherever it has the upper hand, has put an end to all feudal, patriarchal, idyllic relations. It has pitilessly torn asunder the motley feudal ties that bound man to his national superiors, and left remaining no other nexus between man and man than naked self-interest. than callous cash payment. It has drowned the most heavenly ecstasies of religious fervor, of chivalrous enthusiasm, of Philistine sentimentalism, in the icy water of egotistical calculation. It has resolved personal worth into exchange value, and in place of the numberless, indefeasible chartered freedoms, it has set up a single unconscionable freedom: free trade. In other words, for exploitation veiled by religious and political illusions, it has substituted naked, shameless, direct, brutal exploitation. And that is what we have to fight against. We absolutely need to say, I'm not to return like the reactionary would to an invented past of, neo-monarchism or whatever, but bravely plunge forward to the future where we can say with reason, all the former organizations of our society were wrong. Setting up a minority of exploiters to exploit the majority of the exploited is wrong, and we're going to evolve beyond what we have previously known. That is what socialism is about in a fundamental way. It is the most pro-human, pro-ecological possible future. If you care about the environment, you have to destroy capitalism. If you care about humanity, if you care about art, if you care about anything, you have to destroy capitalism. All right. Sorry for getting off on a soapbox.
No, that was beautiful. That's what
we need. That's why I invited you on, because it was the anniversary of the Communist Manifesto, and I thought it was funny to bring you on today, because we were originally going to be on Wednesday chat, and I was like, nah, we'll do Friday. And it's been fun.
Same. We should do it more often. We should set it up as a repeating thing.
All right, so I got like 20 more minutes. So yeah? I want to hand the ball off to you. What are you working on, or what do you want to talk about right now? Like, what do you want to point people to, even if it's just making money for yourself? Go ahead.
No, I have a pretty large video actually in the works that's going to come out. Yeah, going to come out on the channel in like
spoiler
12 days, 13 days. It's a little bit over the top.
What is it?
In my opinion. I'll just say Terra Unitas. My chat fucking knows about it. I kind of because it really connects to what you were just saying.
One world government, baby.
Yeah. About building like being able to imagine a future that now feels unimaginable.
This is the final struggle.
And by seeing it as a goal towards which all of us as fellow Homo sapiens can strive to, by seeing that as our target. That can inspire us to get over
returning to our roots in the first international.
whatever insurmountable fucking problem that we might be seeing nowadays, which is very much so not insurmountable. Because very often, like when we're criticizing modern capitalism, we're criticizing modern capitalism, the current state of things, and usually the world that we can imagine is simply the next step afterwards. But the reason why I made like a very, very, very far-reaching video, at least my idea when it comes to agitation on why I made it, is because imagining something so far off potentially, and something that can something so far off gives us a bigger picture on why our current problems are maybe not as insurmountable and as large as they might seem, etc., etc. But that's on the video.
I'm excited. I'm excited for that.
Hate on it. People will whatever.
You can watch. It's funny that you said you're making this video, because that's the energy that I've been having. I've been playing. There is this rock version of the Internationale that the People's Republican Army put out. I don't know if you saw this.
No.
They put it out like 4 years ago for the 100th anniversary of the Chinese Communist Party, and I've been playing it on like when I start my stream, because it's a banger. And
I'll check it out.
And they talk about, it's just the international, but it's like, it's in Chinese, but one of the refrains of the Internationale is that this is the final struggle, and that we are going to unite, and that racism is bullshit, that there aren't gods, there isn't emperors, no one's that we can rely on. Like, we have to build it. The laboring masses, regular people, we need to seize this opportunity and unite together across the, these made up borders. It's kind of crazy. Like, one of the things that I think learning about history is so important is just the idea of borders themselves are an incredibly recent idea. Yeah. Like, there were borders, but they weren't really enforced until the 30s, like Kingdoms, in the 20s and 30s.
Serfdoms, et cetera,
like, people would just go to a different country. You know what I mean? There wasn't passports. Like, it is like crazy that we've created these lines on the map, and then we've used the like intellect of the modern era to try to create these like fenced in fiefdoms, basically. And whereas humanity was almost always free to like flow in different places, and they did throughout history. And it's crazy what we live in, and this is like in these fictions that people think are so like permanent and indelible,
and are recently they are invented. So incredibly recent. Yeah, so incredibly recent.
Like the concept of being French is an invented idea that's very recent.
Absolutely. It's hilarious when, for example, people throw arguments at, my part of the world, or chatters that don't know I'm from the Balkans or whatever the fuck, that, Yugoslavia was doomed to fail because it attempted to unify different people in one country, and that makes absolutely no sense. Motherfucker, what do you think Italy is? Fucking 120 city-states? You think Germany as a country is older than the United States? Think the fuck again, okay? Think, how fucking recent France is? This thing that you have in your mind as having existed for fucking thousands of years? No, bro. There are very relatively similar people that existed in their own kind of they differentiate, etc., societies that through time understood that the benefits of individual sovereignty do not outweigh the potential benefits of unification, and this is a historical process that will continue to unite us. Even the idea of nationalism, which is now unfortunately very much so bastardized, except in countries that are utilizing it to fight colonialization, etc., was utilized as a tool, as an idea that once the king is removed, once the aristocratic kind of creme de la creme is removed, then that govern us and that define this is who we are inside of these relative broader borders. A very easy question was posed. Okay, then what basis do we unify on? And the answer, to an extent, including other like economic models, etc., pretty much was what? Similar people in a similar place constitute a nation, I guess, and this is now going to be a country. And this is what we've been living with up until now. So it was used to an extent as a progressive tool to bring people together, but now, unfortunately, same like all cycles in history, it no longer serves the role that it was intentionally created for, and it is dividing us instead of uniting us. And in the video I talk about it more. I personally believe that unless we continue down this path of capitalistic self-sabotage, it would be a natural further development of human organization, aka greater pan-unions and greater pan-unions, etc., which of course does not mean that your culture will die or your way of life will die or that your particular faith in this or that deity, etc., needs to disappear. The same way you can be proud of being from Berlin, but also identify with wider Germany, you will be able to identify with your specific culture, but also with the wider union that you find yourselves in.
It's expanding the empathetic circle. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Why is this like insane utopian thinking?
It's not
supposed to be. The contrary is insane. The contrary is insane. The fucking people who harp on self-determination so fucking radically, and yet they don't understand the extent. If you take it to its final conclusion, like the argument that I don't fucking know. For example, why the fuck should I'll use Germany for some fucking reason as an example. Why the fuck should, the Germans and French create a new wider union and exist in it when Germany's pretty much going to feed France a lot more than France is going to feed Germany? But motherfucker, probably Berlin contributes far more to the wider fucking German economy than any other fucking, I'm using random examples, than any other city in Germany. Does that mean that Germany should now declare independence? Okay, let's go on with that fucking logic. There are particular neighborhoods in Berlin that probably contribute a lot more to the Berlin economy than other neighborhoods.
Well,
should they also file for fucking self-determination? At the end of the day, if you follow through to the logic of fucking separation, we should all make our own individual little flags, put it on top of our houses, make it an independent country, and shoot at each other. That's the fucking logic of a fucking child, man.
Yeah, I mean, like, look at Europe itself.
Way of thinking.
Like look at Switzerland. I mean, Switzerland has 3 nationalities within it: an Italian, a French, and a German. And it survived the 20th century. I don't think anybody would say Switzerland has, a multicultural catastrophe of Switzerland. Most people would say, like, it's one of the most beautiful countries in the world. It's fucking expensive as hell, but and it's a capitalist hellhole in some ways. But the idea that these people speak different languages or they have different traditions, that
the
means
separation
that
of people based on cultural ethnicity or whatever is the natural state of things. It is the fucking opposite. Bro.
Yeah, that's
one of the reasons
idea.
You have fucking tacos in fucking South America is because some fucking Arabs went to live there and they wanted to make a fucking doner without the shit that they had back in fucking Lebanon, and all of a sudden we have one of the tastiest fucking things on the planet. Latin Americans are about to fucking shoot me.
Oh, the pastor, chicken pastor? Is that what you're talking about? Chicken pastor?
I don't know. I watched a fucking documentary where like they trace the actual.
Yeah, chicken pastor is the best chicken dish. This is my white opinion. But al pastor, thank you. Exactly, chicken al pastor. And I think no, of course. I mean, that's one of the best. The thing that I find interesting.
Nazis going on white supremacist parades and going.
White doesn't
Germany,
make any
example,
sense.
And then
what is white?
Pizza or doner afterwards.
What is white?
I
you
know,
motherfuckers.
But you get my fucking point. They want to remove themselves from internationalism, yet they cannot.
Whiteness is international.
Internationalism is the core on which all of
whiteness is international. Like the concept of white is international.
That's you guys, you Americans, this fucking weird fucking thing. I was always super fucking weird.
Well, what I mean, but
especially us as fucking Slavs. Like, where the fuck do we fit in? Obviously, I'm a pasty ass fucking white boy. I'm not fucking denying that shit. But the very people who define white looked at Slavs and were like, nah, that's not one of ours.
Look
and then you go to the States and like, what?
Her eyes are too blue and she's too blonde. Not white. Well, no, of course. I mean, yes, it's nonsensical. Of course it's nonsensical. That's what's very funny. Like, I think that's why studying like the Nazis is very important for people to do, assuming you're not dumb as fuck, because you'll find that like their concept of Aryanness, which is related to the concept of whiteness, changed based on the political expedience of what the Nazi party needed. Right,
exactly.
Like
they even had infighting. They had infighting because they, oh god, they're like, oh, this. If I'm an expert on fucking anything, it's fucking Nazi race science. The amount of shit I had to fucking read in order to make one of the fucking mini documentaries. There was a point, obviously before World War II, where there was genuine like Nazi infighting on whether what they defined as Nordics, right,
versus Alpine
the
or
closest, will they create Nordics if they fucking have a kid? And they were very, very radical, like Germanismus, like just German hardcore Nordic motherfuckers. They were like, no. Sure, we can be allies with the fucking Italians or the French for a second, but we ain't fucking around. Also,
yeah, you can't fuck a French girl. Extent, that would make a non-Aryan.
Yeah. That is always a very bad idea. But they were even thinking, like, even inside of Germany, we have a lot of non-Nordics.
Of course.
Like, the dark-haired motherfuckers. And those
like
need
me.
to go together with the Jews, the Roma, the Slavs, etc., etc. And obviously more pragmatic Nazis were like, bruv, like, we can't form a movement if we got to shoot everyone. Even though long term, I like to joke about this with chat. Long term, if you take the division fascist, at least like on the basis of ethnicity, fucking play through, and you kill that other ethnicity, and then you homogenize, then you need to find another enemy, another enemy, another enemy, another enemy. Eventually, like the end goal of Nazism, like 1,000 years down, is obviously who's going to be the out group once you kill all other ethnicities. Women, right? And then you have to kill all women. Therefore, Nazism is gay fascism, because you will be left only with men, and they will.
Well, I mean, I don't think you're
and have sex.
I get the meme and the joke is funny, but I think there's also something to it, right? Like,
but there is, unironically, what is the last enemy, the last other that you will have to exterminate? It's going to be gender based.
Well, women would always be like, ew, like they're not strong, they can't fight, they're subservient. They're kind of parasitical in a certain sense,
How do you explain to yourself, like, women that actively participate in Nazi movements and shit nowadays?
I mean, like, well, I think there's a lot of psychosexual stuff. Like, there is a strong impulse in humanity to not want to have to think, because thinking is energetically expensive. You know what I mean? Like, when you're sitting there and you're like thinking about a problem.
That's why streaming is the hardest job in the world. You got to think for
exactly like when you're thinking about a problem. Like when I'm doing this, like like I'm burning more calories than when I'm just vegetating and just like watching somebody else do something, or I'm just like it is that's actually physically true. So there is like exertion that goes on when you have to think and when you have to reason. Right. So I think there is an impulse for people. It's just like a really intellectual laziness is a thing. Like, where it's like, I just don't want to think. And that's I just want daddy to tell me what to do.
Lives on. Yeah.
I want daddy to tell me what to do. I want somebody else to do the work of thinking, and that is what I think a lot of people are actually eager to do. They want to be told, they want to feel,
especially when it's an easy explanation, when it's a borderline fucking D&D that I call Nazis IRL D&D fucking game masters, but with murder involved. They literally create a insane fictitious world. There were ancient Aryans and their society was destroyed because they interacted with the barbarian peoples, and by intermixing slowly the society degraded. But many thousands of years later, there is one people that mixed the least, and they are the closest to what an ethnically pure Aryan was. And of course, that's us, not the other guys.
Exactly, it's always us. Yeah,
it's us. We are called the Nordics, and we might be able to breed with not as fucked up other races that are close to us, that kind of look like us, but not those more to the east, because too much Jewish influence and too much intermixing with the Asiatic hordes. And this is your worldview. Like, this is your unironic worldview. It's fucking orcs versus elves, but you want to live it. And it's such an easy pitch, and that's why a lot of people that, as you beautifully put, don't want to think. Like, fuck yeah, bro, I'm a fucking Aryan, bro.
Oh, yeah, living vicariously as well.
It's so hard, bro. It's so good, dude.
Yeah, living vicariously. It's like, I was talking about this the other day, which is like, we want to be part of a group, and we want to be able to feel superior, but we don't want to do the work. And I think that's part of it. Like, I get it. Like, doing work is evolutionarily disfavored, right? Like, being lazy is an evolutionary adaptation, which is like, if you have resources, if you've got food and you have water,
material conditions, blood, like literally, yeah.
Like if you just chill, you burn less, and if being like having that lazy gear is probably advantageous selectively in the future. So that, like, when you are in those conditions, you're not needlessly engaging in purposeless activity, right? And like that evolutionary, I'm not trying to get too evolutionarily psych guy, but I think that does intuitively make sense. I think so. We have in us this ability to be lazy, and to we haven't adapted yet to the modern society where I'm not limited by the amount of food I can get. Right? Or how many calories I can consume. In fact, I've got too many calories. I don't know if you've seen unflattering pictures of me out there. you know, after a day after a Korean barbecue, and especially I was high and I went to Korean barbecue. Okay, I want you to imagine that. I don't know if you have Korean barbecue in Yugoslavia.
We do. Yeah, there's Koreans here. Yeah.
Okay, what I mean. Okay, I'm talking about a specific.
I get you. Yeah.
An American all-you-can-eat Korean barbecue experience from Los Angeles, California. Okay, or you know, this is a bacchanal. Okay, this is a succulent Korean meal. Okay, you know, I'm talking about putting kilograms of Korean barbecue down my gullet. All right, that's not what's limiting me. All right, I could do that. Mike, I'm at work. Keep this PG. Okay, I will.
So cocks. Sorry.
So cocks. Yeah, cocks. Penises. Erect penises. A succulent erect penis?
Get your hand off my succulent Korean erect penis.
You are touching my yeah. God.
You are touching my
This man is touching my penis? This is what I knew we were gonna be yelling when you came on stream. Anyway, what was I saying? I don't even remember. Okay, well,
about the laziness imperative. Yes,
the laziness imperative. Yeah, and so we have to fight against that. We've got to build. We've got to put ourselves, you know, on the move. And what do you think? What are your projections? Do you have any kind of like takes for the coming years and the coming this year of 2024 or 2025? Excuse me. What are your kind of like thoughts? Where are we headed in the immediate short term? Do you have any takes you want to share?
There's either like a 1% chance that Trump is doing 70 fucking chess, and this will, in the long term, ensure the progress of American imperial hard and soft power around the world. And then there's 95% chance that Trump is just the result of the slow decline of U.S. empire, and he will not really speed it up because he is the result of said decline. And in 2025, we will see further alienation of the United States, even more away from what was up until this point defined as their traditional allies, etc., etc. More like soft colonies, but you get my fucking point. So basically, I'm saying we're gonna. This year in particular, we're going to speed run American decline internationally, not, of course, for my American friends domestically, even though you guys will definitely feel it, unfortunately, domestically, which I'm not looking forward to, of course. Neither should anyone. But yeah, something that can potentially be utilized by the left, in whatever form it finds itself in at the time, domestically in all of these places that are now going to be separating themselves away from the U.S. by utilizing that very same argument against what the right has basically completely taking a hold of for the last fucking 50, 60, 70 years. And that is that very particular pitch that, hey, you really harp on fucking state sovereignty, you really harp on independence, you really harp on building the destiny of our people by yourselves, then why the fuck are you still a cock to the Americans? They are giving us this argument quite literally for free. And I hope commies internationally manage to use it, because now it's come into the limelight so fucking openly that the so-called enemy can no longer deny it. So that's not the hottest fucking take, more of the like optimistic take of the slow degradation of international American-styled capitalist influence being sped up a little bit.
Yeah, I think I largely agree with that. And I would say one other thing. I think that to understand Donald Trump this is basically like all the people who are doing IMF structural adjustments all over the world who believe their own bullshit. You know what I mean? It's like most of the time they were doing those kind of structural adjustments, they knew it was just to gain an advantage over these countries so that we could steal their resources.
Yeah.
But now I think that Donald Trump's people around him are the people who believe that it actually helps the country. So America is getting the shock doctrine that we gave to Eastern Europe.
Yes.
Yeah. And like it's going to be a complete disaster, just like it was a complete disaster there. privatizing everything, removing the social safety net, make it even more threadbare, reducing our funding, closing universities, closing research. That's not going to make America better. The capitalist free market is not going to step in and do even better. All that's going to happen is the U.S. is going to become less educated, worse infrastructure, worse investment, worse of a society to experience in general. Income inequality is going to get worse. And honestly, I think my hottest take is I think there may be a real, Hoover-like crash where if you go and study the Great Depression, the man who was the Treasury Secretary was Mellon, who was one of the richest men in America at the time. He was a banker, the Mellon family. I don't know if you know of them, but the Mellon banking family is still, still one of the largest and wealthiest names in the world. And he was like, liquidate labor, liquidate, real estate, liquidate everything. When the crash happened, he was like, this is good. Let the crash accelerate, remove more barriers. Because
literally melee, literally.
And he's like, and the losers will lose and their resources will flow in the hands of smarter people and it'll all work out. Except 4 years later, the unemployment rate was 30%. So it didn't work. It resulted in a continual spiral that led to more of a spiral and led to more of a spiral. And the economic and monetary situation continued to worsen. And productivity continued to decline, and joblessness rose, and there wasn't this magic, transfer of wealth to more wise investors. And I think that's honestly where America's headed right now. It's just there was a tremendous amount of bloat and a tremendous amount of corruption and ineffectiveness in the American state. There's no doubt about that. And USAID being closed, although it will be tragic in some circumstances, overall, that was the instrument of American soft power.
Of course.
That's how we interfered with your elections. And so, if that stuff is actually deleted, 1,000 flowers are going to bloom and there's going to be a lot of disruption. I'm pretty pessimistic. I don't know. I think the United States is in trouble in the immediate short term.
I couldn't agree more. The question, though, is in the decades after that, is it simply going to be quote unquote reserved with returning to classical neoliberalism and shit, or can it potentially foster a?
I feel like we're in a fascist neoliberal death spiral.
Oh, absolutely.
If we just go to the neoliberalism,
no, just the thing I didn't expect for you to embrace the death spiral so fast and with so much passion to an extent with, for example, the current administration, et cetera, which is the result of previous administrations. I think nobody in chat here is fucking stupid. But I just didn't expect a wholehearted accepting of the direction where the United States is heading at by any administration.
Well,
whatsoever.
I think it's because not to get us. I don't know if you need to go soon, but just to.
Oh no, I'm fucking good. No.
Yeah. I was just. How do I explain this? I've been thinking about this, trying to figure out a way to explain it, but the situation in America is one where the politics, democratic politics in a liberal bourgeois state, is where you adopt a certain level of, there's different factions in society, right? And they come together to a consensus of okay, we've struggled as much as we can, and it's no longer worth going extra legal or fighting. We're going to just have this kind of bourgeois democracy. We're going to have this, bounds of reason. We're going to have norms and things like that, where, we'll follow the rules in a kind of general sense, and you'll follow the rules, and we balance each other. It feels like the Republican Party has figured out that the Democratic Party, there's nothing behind it, right? When they disrespect the norms, when they cheat, when they're corrupt, there's no consequences.
Yeah.
So it's like playing poker with somebody, and then, they reach over and look at your cards and then play. And then you keep, they win the pot.
You don't. They
win the pot, and then you take your wallet out and you buy more chips, and they keep looking at your cards. And it's at a certain point, the fact that you continue to bring your wallet out, like you've now made it optimal for them to just maximally cheat.
Keep looking at the cars.
And I think America has fundamentally broken, like, because, and I don't know how you unwind that, because Republicans have now been taught to cheat and lie and dissemble and just, you know, violate every possible norm of democratic consensus.
You unwind it by explaining that it's equally the fault of those who are looking at the other player's card.
Well, the guy keeps bringing out his wallet is as much of a contributor as the guy cheating.
But in the American mainstream, that sort of fucking opinion is borderline non-existent.
That's why people hate me, because I'm just like, the Democratic Party is actually the problem. People focus on the Republicans, and it's like, yes, they are the party of untrammeled capitalism. They are the party of fascism, of racism, of all the bad things, right? And those forces exist within our society, and they're not perturbed by what I say, okay? But on the other side, the opposition, which is supposed to represent working class people, the proletariat, you know, justice, fairness, whatever, equity, they're not doing that. So I can't stop the evil bastards from organizing in their own interest. But how come the people that are supposed to be organized in my interest are not operating in my interest? And that's because they're, you know, and I'm sure you've explained it a million times what's wrong with the Democrats. And so I've said, like, you know, for the longest time, a lot of people have falsely categorized me as like an electoralist person who thinks reform is coming through electoralism, which has never been my position ever, by the way. However, I have engaged with electoral politics in my life, and I continue to do so, supporting various candidates who I like, because I'm trying to get, I'm basically it's like I go into a room and they say, grab whatever you can. You know, I'll grab whatever I can. Yeah. You know, I'm not going to say, you know, I want a certain type of thing. I'm just like, oh, you're going to give me the, for example, I just helped get somebody elected to Milwaukee city government. Well, yoink. You know, I just helped another person get elected to Wisconsin state legislature. Yoink. You know, the guy, his name, Ryan, he literally went to Iraq to try to prevent the Iraq war, like to put his body on the line and said, I'm an American and I'm standing next to the Iraqi fucking government building. Don't bomb it or you're going to kill me. Wow. Like he was he was not just somebody who protested the Iraq war. He literally is a king, and now he's a legislator in Wisconsin. I helped him, you know, get elected. He just wrote me this heartfelt letter about how he would have given up if it wasn't for our community.
That's awesome.
That is the type of shit we're doing. Now, is that electoralism? In a certain sense it is, but I'm trying to create a
who the fuck cares
political milieu. I'm trying to create a political milieu, and I'm trying to push for more. And I have kind of in my mind, I was always somebody who is like a dirty break person. This is DSA shit. I don't know if you know about this, but there were two types of arguments. There was the clean break people and dirty break people. What are they breaking from? The Democratic Party. Clean break people just wanted to kind of like almost do entryism. Unless if I'm butchering this, chat, correct me. They wanted to do entryism, you know, AOC type people, and just kind of win through a process where we kind of take over the Democratic Party and we remake it in our own image. That has been thoroughly discredited. Not possible. You know, I was open to it. I'm willing to support people trying it, but it's not possible. Okay. And then you have dirty break people who are, we should break from the Democratic Party when it's the most damaging to the Democratic Party in the effort to destroy it. And I believe now is the time. I think we should be trying to destroy the Democratic Party because it just cannot fight Trump at all. They won't do it. They're just not standing up to him. And everybody who's a left-leaning person, even like libs, they see that and they hate it and they're pissed about it. They've been told for the last 12 years that Donald Trump is the biggest threat to humanity of all time. And now that he's back in office, all the libs are like, I'm going to work with you on deporting immigrants. I'm going to pass a law where they don't have due process of law anymore. And we just round them up off the street and deport them to a country they may not have nothing to do with. And so I think, you know, for me, I want to build a workers' party. You know, I want to do that now. And I think, and so that's been my, you know, basically since it's funnily enough, basically since the DNC, when they said we're not going to bring on a Palestinian speaker, I've been like, destroy the Democrats. Like, it's over. Genocide, and you're not even going to pretend to lie about it. You're not even going to give people like, well, she lied to us, and then, at least give us that. They don't even respect us enough to lie to us anymore. And that is a sign of danger. Okay, go ahead. Sorry for ranting for so long.
Sign of danger, but also, no, I love it. A sign of danger, but also a sign of opportunity. I mean, if there was ever a moment that can be properly utilized in order to completely dissuade people from thinking that, stepping in shit one more time is going to make your boots fucking cleaner, it's now. It's only about making that connection, and now it's easier than ever that without Democrats acting the way they do, you would not be able to put people as fucking unhinged as the Republican Party.
Donald Trump would never win. If the Democratic Party was democratic.
Exactly.
Like, that's it. Like, we would have had a million.
Like, that's the pitch. That's the pitch. I think it can work. I don't think Americans are that fucking stupid, contrary to my chat's opinion.
I don't think Americans are stupid. I think they're trained to be stupid. I think, and what I mean by that is they're not
trained
stupid.
to not think outside of scope.
Well,
it's not about stupidity or smart. There's scope. The scope is the two parties. Do not think outside of that.
Yeah, no, exactly. That's what I'm saying. Okay, so this is something I was saying. I was saying to Nathan Grayson, who's a journalist I had on my stream yesterday, and I was talking about pundit brain, and this is the biggest problem people have. How do I know it is a big problem? Because I've knocked tens of thousands of doors in my life talking to regular people about politics who didn't expect me to do that. I would knock on their door for some left-wing cause. Or I would do sometimes unions do this where they just go and knock on the doors of their members and talk to them. It's a really good program that I've always been strongly in favor of. Where union leaders just go talk to random union member, to show up at their house. And so I've been doing that for a very long time. And one of the things I noticed is people will often just repeat what is on TV. And they will have a conversation on the terms of what pundits say. Like, if you knocked on somebody's door during the Bernie Sanders campaign, they'd be like, Biden is electable. And it's like, that's not something they came to on their own. It is
nothing comes to you on its own.
Exactly. It is a message. Yeah. That was the primary message advocacy against Bernie Sanders, which is, we're not going to talk about any of the policies and how popular they are and how good they are on the merits. We're just going to say, listen.
And it worked.
You may like Bernie. You may think these are good ideas. Yeah. However, your neighbor is an asshole. Your neighbor is an idiot. And so you can't get the good thing that you want and you agree with, and you're right that they're good. However, you got to think about your dumbass neighbor. And your dumbass neighbor is more likely to vote for Biden than he would for Bernie. And if you vote for Bernie, it's risky, right? But he'll vote for Biden over Trump. Right, so you got to do the safe thing.
But what happens now? But you see how now they're already shifting.
That's what I'm saying.
As you beautifully put about, we'll help you deport people, etc., etc. Now the shift is, yes, you have a dumbass neighbor, but the dumbass neighbor, there's more dumbass neighbors than smart neighbors. And I mean, we gotta do the shit that the dumbass neighbor wants. It used to be, he's gonna vote for Biden because he's more electable, blah blah blah. But now it's, he's racist. Maybe we gotta be a little
exactly.
bit racist.
That's the thing.
You gotta be pragmatic.
That's why I called it. That's why I called it the neoliberal fascist death spiral. Because the neoliberals will never do pushback. They will never fly up. They will never pull up. They'll never go in the right direction. It'll always be spiraling and spiraling and spiraling. And you're right, exactly. In the face of defeat, right? They said Joe Biden until Joe Biden literally melted in front of us, and then they didn't let us have a primary. No. We forced Kamala Harris with no elections, no votes. It's just her. We picked her, and it failed utterly. And the reaction is Joe Biden was an amazing, perfect president, and Americans just don't care when we make their lives better. They're just racist. That is their honest to God argument. And I think, first of all, it's delusional, and we could get into a lot of facts if you want to about why the country is not better. It's not. He was not a success on any metric. Anybody who tells you he was a success on X, Y, and Z is a lying hack. He was a failure, a complete failure in every important subpoint. And
even on a simple more what they call liberal moralism, just for 2 seconds. The Democratic Party in its previous fucking term, unironically, looked the American people in the eye and said asking for us to stop mass murdering women and children is too much.
Correct.
That, if that doesn't break an average fucking human soul and understand and make them understand that they don't have a soul, I genuinely don't know.
Well, it's worse than that. It's worse than that. It is not just that they didn't want to stop supporting Israel. It's that they viciously suppressed protest against
viciously
it.
Exactly.
And they worked hand in hand with fascist and foreign fascist state doing a genocide to help target, ostracize, give personal, professional, and legal consequences to the people that protested peacefully.
And then they lost. So even the pragmatist argument, which is insane for you to say you need to be pragmatic when it comes to the wholesale mass murder of a whole fucking people, and then they lost. I'm agreeing with you. There's no argument left whatsoever. There's not a single card that they can put on the table that can be used for their support.
You know what? Okay, so just to be as most pro-democrat as I could possibly be, their argument would be, listen, okay, yes, Donald Trump won, and yes, the American people are racist. However, if we move just slightly ever more closer to the right, we only lost by 1.8%, and we're they have a thin majority in Congress. It's not that crazy that, thermostatic effect, right? Donald Trump goes too far right. The American people are going to react back toward the golden perfect center, which is where everyone intelligent is. The status quo is amazing.
Where we do just a little bit of genocide.
And we'll be able to win power back, right? So you just have to hold the course, thermostatic effects. Joe Biden was too old. He wasn't very good at messaging. We'll find a good messenger and we'll be able to barely pull over the line, but don't ask for too much, because this is a center-right country. So best I could do, tax cuts for corporations. And if you open a small business in a marginalized community and keep it open for 7 years, we will be able to give you a $5,000 tax break. Best I can do. Best I can do. And that's literally going to be their plan. And it's important to understand that I saw this coming, and I told you exactly what was going to happen. And I've been saying, it's very funny because I just pulled up a post of mine from January 21st, 2021, which was the first day of Biden's administration. And I explained exactly what was going to happen. Exactly. I predicted I predicted everything. And and it's not because I'm a super genius. It's just because my brain works. My brain works.
And you're a super genius.
Yes. I apply materialist analysis. More glazing of me is honestly necessary.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, you know what's really bullshit? So I was talking to this reporter about Hassan, and I was talking about how he kind of disproves all the stereotypes about leftists, because he's a tall, attractive, popular, muscled guy, and I said stuff like that, and he quoted me glazing Hassan full deep throat. The balls were rubbing against my beard hair level of
and there's
dick
nothing
riding.
Wrong about glazing.
No, no, it's fine. But then the very next day,
glaze
you could
more, dude.
Go on Hassan's fucking Twitter feed.
Glaze.
I'm gonna pull it up. I'm gonna pull it up right now on my stream, just so you can see how caught I was glazing.
Let me see. Read it out loud.
He posted when he went live. Let me see. Let me just scroll.
He posted the glaze.
He posted this. He is large, strong, attractive, funny guy who you want to be friends with, but he also has the values of the left. Mike from PA Pyre, Hasanavi, live from sunny California, publicized glazing. Look what this motherfucker did. Look what this motherfucker did.
Posting your nudes on Maine, bro.
This is like leaking a sext or something.
A little you did a sext.
This is fucked up.
The sexting is good agitation, bro. Except when you then
ride your homies,
take a video of the actual sex.
This is a bro job
to other people that don't want you to see. Yeah, that's different.
Yeah, this is a bro job right here. All right, well, listen. It's Friday. What time is it over there?
It's drinking time.
Yeah, that's what I'm gonna say. You got to be getting ready for.
Dude, it's just fucking dry February. I want to kill myself.
Are you done, or are you gonna keep streaming?
I'm not done with dry February. I have 7 more days, dude. I don't know how you fucking. Do you drink?
I used to drink a lot. I used to drink a lot.
I saw a fellow man of.
I used to drink a lot. I don't drink as much because my partner doesn't really drink at all. So I kind of I don't like to drink alone. You know what I mean?
The States are so fragmented that all your like IRL friends are.
Yeah, I just moved across the country, so you know how it goes. Like, but. I used to drink a lot, and so I've kind of recovered from that before my as I'm getting older and closer to as I'm middle aged now. It's bad, Of
course, the hangovers are insane, but you gotta work out more, and you gotta there's you can always out workout how much damage
I drink like hard alcohol, like
body.
water. Yeah. So that's always been a problem because I'm Scottish, and so like
nice.
It doesn't really bother me. Like we would just drink scotch, like.
Yeah, of course.
And, whenever I
why is that
people,
weird to anyone? Like that's so funny.
Well, you're
soft, brother. You're soft.
Oh no, it's not.
Chat. You're soft.
It's
brother.
not about being soft. It just literally does not.
Kidding,
so I would drink
that's the one
like
thing I'm toxic on.
I would drink like so much that it would be bad. So.
It's kind of a trait of being a communist, you are so incredibly fucking smart because of the information that plays through your brain.
So true.
So you see injustice absolutely everywhere 24/7, and a drink makes it all go away, and life is relatively decent for a couple of seconds for you to rest. That's my pitch to none of you, because you should not be drinking, of course.
Yeah. So I mean, I'm a super lightweight now, which is great, but it is what it is.
Next time you come to
I will die.
One of the most beautiful
I'll
Serbian
die and puke on myself.
World, Vienna. You come and I reintroduce you.
We'll be back. Well, we need to visit. We need to visit again. Assuming I don't get arrested by Trump's Gestapo. All right. Well, yeah. Go ahead and plug all your shit again. We can do a shout out.
Just anybody in chat, click my account, click follow. I stream. That will be chill. You saw who I am if you're interested in this type of shit. I apologize for the relatively LARPy, weird-looking fucking mask thing. I'm just still in denial about being, coming out of the closet as a full-time quote-unquote content creator. So I keep it.
Honestly, it's fine.
Anonymous.
It's probably smart,
especially with the hat. I don't know. Today I was having a horrible hair day, but when I remove the hat, it's fine.
You're very Tim Pool today.
Bullshit. Yeah, I'm very. And my hair is starting to do a Tim Pool. The only thing I'm not Tim Pooling is fucking hundreds of thousands of dollars from the Russian Federation, bro. Come on, call me.
Gee, where the fuck? I don't want Russian money. I want Chinese money. Where the fuck are you,
bro? And we're never gonna get it because they don't give a shit.
Where is the Confucian Center?
The fucking people working in the EU that I talked to you, that I told you about like earlier, that I fucking know, and half of them work for fucking like lobbying companies. I'm like, dude, do Chinese lobbying companies exist? Because like fucking connect me, bro. And they're like, no, they do not care. They do not give a shit.
They're just like, we have the best products at the best price.
Now, though, with the schism between the U.S. and the EU, they might slowly start rolling in. And with that, my dear friend, we might not be begging for subs anymore, brother. Might not. I'm kidding. Of course, I'm fucking wrong. I actually, anytime I get anonymous gift subs in chat, I salute and say thank you, Xi Jinping, because I have a deal with my boy. But we agree.
Oh my god, dude! Like if America
anon gifties, bro.
If America balkanized, I would be like, I'll start the pro-G militia. Like, drop the J-20s on me. Teach me to fly the J-20. I'll fly the J-20. Like I will. Yeah, we will.
I'm sending you crates of AKs inside of alcohol.
Hell yeah, dude!
Crates and shit, dude. We doing this. The LARP is gonna LARP hard.
We're gonna really LARP it. All
right, yeah, no jokes. Click follow. Check me out when I
shouted you out in my chat. I assume everybody in your chat is already a member of the Central Committee. Like, come on.
That is not even not even a question, man. I'm intruding on your turf, for which I apologize and will continue to apologize. But I'm pretty sure like a lot of chatters like jump between streams whenever they watch. So it's
oh yeah,
so
no, it's no biggie.
yeah.
All right, well, I'm going to go ahead. If you're done, are you going to keep streaming or you no?
Nah, I'm gonna kill it. Even though no, raid me if you want. That's gonna motivate more people to follow. Maybe I'll watch a fucking video, and then I'm min-maxing now hard.
Yeah, there you go.
And
You
then
figured
I'm
it out.
gonna
I hinted to you twice, but I'm not gonna make you keep going.
And now I said it out lound. There you go. The
like, you know what I mean? Like,
only honest.
if you're just
guy
like, I'm not gonna raid you if you're just gonna end your stream immediately. So, because that's just dumb.
No.
But I will give you the raid and you can stay up even later.
And yeah, thank you to contributing to the slow destruction of my relationship with my partner. Phenomenal stuff.
You're welcome.
Dude, thank you so much.
Honestly, your partner
should
should recognize that what you're doing is giving you guys such complete freedom in the future. Like, that's the best part of being a Twitch streamer is all the rules I impose on myself are imposed by me. Like, you know what I mean? Like, if I say I need to stream, that's what I'm just saying. And if I decide I don't want to, I don't.
But it's a double-edged sword, dude. Like, my phenomenal mods have been pushing me to stream more often. And during February, I've been streaming 4 days a week, every week. But once I go back to drinking from time to time, there's a whole ass day for hangovers, and that kind of kills it. But maybe I should be like you, like sobriety is healthy. Nah, man. Nah.
All right,
after I said it out loud,
you were laughing. All right, well, I'm sending you guys over to Yugopnik. Have a wonderful rest of your day, weekend. Today's movie night over in my Discord. I don't remember what we're watching. We're watching a movie at 9 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Pacific. So come hang out. My link's in the channel. Thank you so much for coming on. Solidarity forever, my friends.
And we should do it again. We should
Free Palestine. We'll do it again. See ya.
Free Palestine. Bye, brother.